You are watching another episode of Shane Solomon Meets, brought to you by the Cornwall channel. I'm your host, Shane Solomon, and today I'm catching up with Graham Potts and Woe King, and we're talking everything AI and ChatGPT. Run the titles. So we're not talking about AI is coming. AI is very much here. I'm going to start off with Woe King, get straight into the content. Everyone that I know is starting to talk about this, but you've known about this for a long time. Let's kick off. What is ChatGPT?
Yeah, there was now a lot of experts on ChatGPT, which found it like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So I run an AI company, and we've been using technology, the ChatGPT technology now for over 2 years. And we actually create our own AI models. So ChatGPT is the front-facing of OpenAI. And OpenAI has been around for a few years now. One of the founders, Elon Musk, and a few other people from things like Stripe got together. Now, Elon Musk is no longer involved with it, but it then became something that was a large language model. Now, a large language model is something that takes a huge amount of data. On this, they scraped huge amounts of the internet between 2019 and 2021. And ChatGPT is that front-facing personification of what they did. We've been using the back end, and now anyone can use this new front end. And it has incredibly changed the game, because what we realized was coming, and we've been shouting at, anyone not shouting, we've been trying to convince everyone that what is coming is coming. Now people are seeing it, and people have gone, oh no, or wow. And the usual thing that's happened is, oh, it's nothing, it doesn't work, to, oh my God, we need to fear it, and it's going to destroy everyone's business, to now actually, how can I use it? And
Indeed.
That's happened very quickly. So ChatGPT is just a bot that you talk to, and you ask it questions, you ask it to do certain things, and we'll go over those.
Yes, indeed.
But when people, and you've experienced it, and I showed you at an event, and you went, oh my God, it has that oh my God moment where you go, everything's just changed, and everything has just changed. But when we talk about ChatGPT, I'm talking about it in the past, and people are talking about it in the future, because this is the beginning of the beginning. I know what's coming up. This is just nothing in comparison to what's coming up.
Okay, well, let's hold it there for the minute, because we've got Graham Potts here as well. Graham's coming down from Plymouth. You run a company called Wessex Commercial Solutions. Yeah. You're a chartered accountant. Yeah. You're very intelligent. You're top of your game. And I've seen the podcast before this. What does it mean for you, AI?
I think AI, we use AI anyway, because we're zero specialists. And for me, it's actually using... I just think it cuts out time as much as possible, and having all information in one place for me. So like for us as a company, Wessex, a chartered accountancy business, we don't keep paper. Everything's automated. We've got 15 apps running with Xero. We help companies, clients do exactly the same, how to minimize time, get the processes right, but actually get them right so that actually you get the right output. So it's all about input and output. What I'm interested with ChatGPT, when I met Woe, as with you, Shane, was that I thought, hang on a minute, this is coming, but how's it going to affect the accountancy business and all my clients, or our clients, and how's that going to help them? Because that's what I want. I want to help them. I want to minimize their time, because business owners are stressed out because they haven't got time. As we said earlier, that on a previous podcast, everybody thinks that business owners are wealthy, and most of them, they're not. They're stressed out. They're probably, if you look at their time with what they earn, they're probably under minimum wage. But everybody doesn't think that way. But how can you help them so they give them more time to actually, and give them the chance to make their business much more successful? Sort of how can they do things smarter? How can they market better? How can they, sort of go tenders better? All that sort of thing. That's what I'm really interested with what's happening.
Indeed, and this is going back to you, how you use it. How can we use this? Because I've seen it. You demoed it to me. I remember that first time, the introduction through Joe Rusbridge, which, massive thank you for Joe for the introduction. But I was like, wow, this is incredible. And my first thoughts were, crikey, well, copywriters would be out of a business, this is going to be out of a business. But then you start thinking about it, and I think you said this to me on the phone the other day when we talked, it's like 80% AI, 20% you still have to read it. You still have to work out if it's right from the human brain. So it really, it just blows my mind. And I've got a few notes here. We're managing and analyzing large amounts of data. So just talk me through a few.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is why with you it's so important, is that I really wanted to talk about how AI, and I'm a Cornish artificial intelligence company. That's important to me to be a place, right? And in Cornwall, the last figures I saw, and this is going to be large parts of Southwest, might mirror this, is 85% of businesses are 5 or less employees. What AI can do is turn that small company into a medium-sized company. It creates, we call them like little gods, right? It creates your little god that can, like that little like Tamagotchi, that little like Pokemon that you can use to go to the next level without having to employ more people, huge amounts of resources. And that's what excited me about talking to you today, is that for all those small businesses, they can now go to the next level really easily, really affordable. And for instance, like with large data, with accountancy firms and legal firms, Cornish firms in Southwest can be really bad and good at this, is that there might be hundreds of years like being in operation. They've got this massive amount of information and data, and it is so valuable, and they don't know what AI can do. It can go over that and reveal those anywhere from mining to land to all these different agricultural opportunities, can mine that data. And so it creates that whole new value, which is there, but they couldn't do it without AI.
Yeah, the way I see it, I was very interested in with AI is that I see it. Well, we do as much as we can with the accountancy side anyway, and like sort of cutting down paper, having all the information in one place. What I was interested in was the growth, like you said. It's like like saying applying for grants, sort of getting on tender lists, answering questions, because a lot of times people don't know where to start. And if you can, as long as you ask the right questions, is what we had a discussion earlier before we started the podcast. If you can ask the right questions, get the right output, because people don't know where to start. Now, if you ask the questions and you get something, you say, give me that right answer, or give me an answer for this question, sort of how do you do this? What do you do there? It gives you it, and you say, well, you've got, like you said, 80%'s there. You just got to tweak it. Yeah. The amount of time it takes people, I'm a great believer in the 80-20 rule, the amount of time it takes people to start.
Indeed, yes.
That's a key for me. And they don't know where to start, so they sometimes don't start.
Yeah.
Whereas if they've got something here that gives them the start, and then they can just tweak it. And then if they're not sure, they can get experts in whichever field, marketing, finance, whatever, to help them. But it'll give them so much more power.
Yeah.
And I think I just see that actually, and small businesses, I look at small businesses being speedboats against tankers. Now, if they've got the information that actually the ability to get the information and get what big companies have, they can soon overtake them.
Yeah.
And that to me is really, really exciting.
No, it's like, it's a really good analogy, because it's like putting a jet engine on the back. It's not just a couple of motors now. And for the small and big size companies, we know, the big accountancy firms and their partners, they're not bringing more partners on board. They're using AI with a partner. And so the partner is now doing more. And they're even getting rid of some partners, the big accountancy firms. The big accountancy firms are using it, but they're going to do it in a cumbersome way, slow way. Whereas smaller, could just accelerate right past them. They could go for really big tenders because they've got the AI. They're in games and now that they would never have dreamed of being. They're in rooms now with the use of AI that was never possible before.
Can I just say, or ask you, when you rewind the clock back, when Facebook hit the world, when Google hit the world, when Bitcoin hit the world, where are we now with AI? How soon are we into it? You were saying earlier on how many years you've been working around it, but I mean, in the timeline of life, then where do you think we are as people are now searching this on YouTube?
Yeah, so I've been in tech now over 30 years, 3 decades, and I've seen the previous revolutions. I've seen what's called Web 1.0, Web 2.0, which is like Facebook and Google and so forth. And I've seen when the spikes have happened. And this reminds me of when I first started, and then when I was a kid, I had Commodore 64, so I learned to code. And my generation, so many tech companies who are run by people who started off with a Commodore 64 when they were kids, right? It's insane, that the whole British tech industry. And so, and I went into the offices, and CEOs, this is when desktop computers were starting, would come to me, and I'm like the office junior or just on like some sort of intern, and they go, you know about computers, what are we going to do? And the transformation and I was there when Microsoft and desktop computers came into business, that's where we're at now.
Right. Okay.
Right?
So,
and a lot of young people didn't
start.
see that, right? They didn't see what happened. I did. And I'm not being hyperbolic. That's what's just about to happen.
I can feel it too. I believe it to be true.
I can feel it. And also I see it like an exponential curve.
Yeah.
That basically what you've got is you've got information out there. And the trouble is there's too much information. I mean, I don't know how much. Yeah. It used to be it takes 100 years or something to double the amount of information. Now it's like, say, 2 years, if that. Yeah. And it's going down. It's going to get into weeks.
I remember encyclopedias, don't you?
Yeah. What's that?
Sell them on the doors, Yeah.
But I just, you've got to understand this and get people to help you to understand it, because we've had the conversation before, well, that I'm just worried that big, small companies won't understand the benefits and everything. Oh, AI is for the bigger companies. It's not.
Absolutely not.
It's for everybody.
It is. And with that being said, you've developed Debbie, which is an artificial intelligent lady based in Camborne, if I'm correct.
Camborne,
and this is to help the lower, the deprived people of society that don't have the money to.
I mean, where did we meet, Shane? When did I first show you ChatGPT?
Exactly. We was at an event, a community event in Bugle, where people that were struggling with housing and things like that really on the low end of incomes were looking for advice and answers. And you've put that power of information into those hands who couldn't necessarily afford to.
So, I mean, this is my passion, is that to give artificial intelligence to people who need it most. And that's anywhere from the lowest income all the way to small organizations and companies, right? I love to sort of tweak the nose of the establishment, and AI is going to do that massively.
Yes.
And so we were at that event, and Debbie is, she's an important colleague of us. I mean, it's part of a European social funded project with Cornwall Council and People Hub, and there's real people involved, and People Hub's a fantastic organisation. But Debbie's a bot that works on WhatsApp that literally this week, the version 3 is going out to the public. It's been used thousands of times, a beta. And Debbie is something you can just chat to on WhatsApp or on web. And it is the best skills and job search in the whole of the Southwest, I would say. It's the best universal credit estimator, housing benefit estimator, lots of different things. Also, using the technology that ChatGPT, we've been, I said, using it for a couple of years. We've been using it in order that the fact that you can ask questions of Debbie, and Debbie gets it from the government website on benefits and comes back with the answer in a way that makes sense, and in a way that is human and emotionally connected. So in my team, I've got linguists and creative writers. Now, Debbie is an important colleague. She's 52. She's got 2 children. She's got a whole backstory. And Debbie, to us, is a way that the fact that AI and this technology, ChatGPT, can be given to the people who need it most first. Then we're going up, right?
Sure.
And we've got a myriad of other products coming out, which has come out from the work on Debbie, which will be supporting small businesses, which means that they can do much more with less. But we started there and went up. Instead of this sort of, we call it the failure trickle down, is that you start up here and you go down, it stops. Okay. And that's big business, that's individuals, that's everything else. It stops that last part. We turn this upside down, and you here, you understand that. And the power of going that direction instead of trying to go down that direction, that's what AI is going to do.
I think I'm interested, obviously, more so at the small business area, excuse me, but I'm concerned because I know so many small businesses. I'll give you an example that fail, and then what happens. So I am really there to help the business owners. My brother-in-law, who's 66, he got priested, he's ordained, has helped out in homeless shelters. And when he went round talking, like I think it was a Christmas meal, 1/3 of the people who was there were failed business owners. And businesses don't understand. The business owners give everything to the business, but when something goes wrong, they fail, and then the house might be on the line. But before you know it, they lose the house. They might lose their relationship because a partner doesn't understand the stress. And before you know it, they've broken up and they're living homeless on the streets. I just want to help those people, and I see AI being part of that, like with Debbie, and then moving up to whatever the next version is for small businesses. Because I think that the one question I got for Woe is, how can we access that as a small business? You know, how can my clients access that? Because, you know, they're all thinking, oh, they've got so many things hitting them. How can we use this to help small business?
Well, there you go. Well, how can they? You know, I've been using what you showed me the other day.
Yeah.
At the moment, you know, I said, where's the charge for this? You know, how can businesses kind of tap into this?
If you type in Google ChatGPT, use it, it's under a lot of strain and sometimes goes down because
it does, yeah.
they had 2 million people going on it in the first couple of weeks, and it's just growing exponentially. So I showed an example with you in that village hall in Bude, where Bugle, sorry, my apologies, and then turn around and go, right, create me a blog post about business networking.
Yes.
And it didn't scrape from the internet. It created an original blog post about business networking. Then it was like, create a script I would present on YouTube. Yeah. Then it created a script.
With descriptions of what shots to get.
Yeah. All right. Then create a tweet from this. And it created a tweet with the correct hashtags. That took, 4 or 5 minutes?
If that, yeah, absolutely.
Then I also showed you, so the industry that's going to be massively impacted by this is my own. At last, right? At last that we've been going out and telling all other industries with our little, on top of our tech mountain, that, we're going to come and disrupt everyone. This is going to disrupt us, right? There's already thousands and hundreds of jobs have been laid off in technology. I would have 3 years ago turned around and said, you should really try and learn to code. And I work with Software Cornwall, which is brilliant, and they help kids learn to code.
Going with this.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
I don't know that's true anymore, because my coders use AI as they code, and you can go into it and go, create me the code, let's say in Python, or just create me the code to do a certain thing. The code comes out.
I didn't even think about that.
Right? There's people now creating whole websites and business models within 20 minutes.
But do you know what, though?
And have no knowledge on how to code.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing. I can't help but show people this, because it's going to get out there anyway. So I'm showing people, right?
Yeah.
So I'm showing this person this thing. And I said, as a demo, write me a children's book based in Cornwall, in a Cornish village with a dragon and I couldn't think of anything else. My person said hamsters. I said, and hamsters. And I swear, it come back with this children's book written out with these hamsters. And then we added something else as a condition, and it did that and it added that. And then the chap goes, see if it will write you a song. Yeah. I said, get out here with chords, right?
Oh, with chords, yeah. So I've done that one.
I'm like, what? So based on the story above, write me a song with chords.
Yeah.
And I swear to you, I can play a bit of guitar, nothing major, but it comes back and it had C, G, and D in it. I had these words and
amazing.
I'm like, are you for real? And at the end, it explained that this was just the story was a fictional thing, and hamsters don't talk and all sorts of things. So this is incredible. It blows my mind.
Yeah. So you can see how quick and fast it is, but this is the important thing. The small businesses, and I love the fact that you will know your industry better than anyone who works in a big business, okay? Because you have to live, eat, all the time. And these small business owners are absolute phenomenal experts in their domain. Add AI to it, they become a superpower.
Yes,
right?
Indeed, and superpower.
And my passion is to give AI to, we turn around and say, what happens if you give a data scientist or a homeless person? What happens if you gave an AI, a machine learning engineer to a marketing person who's a single person who creates blog posts? Mm-hmm. Well, all of a sudden, she can do 100 times of the blog. And and I sneakily, as soon as this came out, which was in November, gave it to a couple of people, and one of them was someone who does blog posts. And I said, look, don't tell anyone. This is before everyone started finding out about it. And she started using it, and she told me that everyone's saying, God, your content's amazing now. You're creating so much of it. And I told her and said, just keep riding this, right, before everyone realises it.
It's nuts. But I've done this with a few clients. There's one in London I'm talking to at the moment, and they are in nutrition.
Yeah.
And I'm far from the most nutrition person in the world. I love pasties, fish and chips, Chinese, Indian, you name it, everything bad. I love it. So, I said, look, I'm on the phone. We're talking about video production and stuff. And I said, look, I'm trying my hand at blog writing. I said, can you give me a subject? She said, talk about gut health and this, that, and IBS and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, put it in. Oh my goodness, it come back with this thing. It looked good to me. I send it off to her. She goes, Shane, that is fantastic. That is really fantastic. I said, do you think so? Do you think so? Thanks.
Yeah, how long did it take you?
It's literally 3 minutes. And I even put in there 300-word blog post. I want this to be substantial. And it did. I think, so how do the people that can't afford, phones, how do they access it? We talk about making it accessible for the low income bracket, but what if they, they don't have PCs, laptops, the latest iPhone? How?
So we built Debbie so it could be used on a £60 Android phone.
Okay.
So WhatsApp was the first place because my user testing, and I've done user testing in job centres, homeless shelters and everything else, is that 85-90% got WhatsApp. Okay. So we start there. And so we could have just built our own app, but then you'd have to download it, need the most modern phone. And I went, no, we start always, not, there's an economic term called bottom up, right? But these people aren't, I've never used that sort of, could be a pejorative term. But so we got this thing of, it is actually an advantage to design for people like this, because if you build something that anyone can use, everyone can use. And so we, who are competing against the Googles and Microsoft of this world, right, they're just doing the top part all the time, right? We've come from the bottom up, and there's a whole market. And it's like small businesses, single operators, but most importantly to us, to start off with, anywhere from homeless people to people on benefits. You start there and come back up, those guys cannot compete, right? I am now beating them, right, with what I'm doing, because they can't compete, because they just can't get their head round outside their bubble of going to these places. So, we're talking to you, I'm actually an advantage being in Cornwall. So as we come up from there and start going to small businesses and medium-sized businesses, I'm glad we're here talking to small businesses, small, 2-3 man-woman bands, because then by learning that, I keep on going back up. And it's not that we start with really big organisations and try and throw scraps at the table down to everyone else, because that has failed.
It's the same. I mean, all big, if you think about systems, systems with like the revenue systems and that, and the NHS and all the failures that these companies have had, is because they get too complicated. If you can start the smaller bit and move up, eventually you can do the complicated, but you've got to keep it simple to start with. Yeah,
keep it simple, stupid. So what do you think about, Graham, the thought of not knowing what you're reading is true or false anymore?
Well,
if everyone's using AI and they don't do the 80-20% rule and they stick it out, you can read it. Right, okay, is that real what I'm reading, or is that...
Well, I always say that you always have to look and sort of try and search and understand. Like, I always want evidence to prove it. Because I think we're all of us know now that there's so much out on, like the Facebooks of this world, where there's stories which are not true.
Indeed.
So you have to research and have a look. Otherwise, these get quick rich schemes, they're fraudulent, most of them. I think all of them are, but let's say 95%. So I think you've got to look at it and maybe ask, it's how you ask the questions.
Indeed.
And I think you should ask, if the question comes, you're not sure, or you don't have to ask another question and see what comes out. So
listen, guys, I'm going to really have to wrap this up, only because we've got to get you to the train station, and I've already overrun from what I've said. Whoa, literally within the next 5 minutes, we've got 5 minutes, and I really need to wrap this up. Is there anything you want to get in there? I mean, we've got a list here with some topics.
What's happening next?
But we will catch up again.
What's happening next? This is just the beginning of the beginning of the beginning.
Really? I'm excited about now.
So I could go on about how Microsoft has licensed the ChatGPT technology already. And so therefore, what happens if they put that with Bing? Right? That could get rid of Google.
Yeah, right.
Google might not be around
Bing's
in 2
still
years'
around,
time.
is it? I didn't realise that.
Yeah. Add AI to it. I know Google's got, because I'm part of the community, I know what's going on inside. AI's got a bigger large language model than ChatGPT, right? And it's they're talking about releasing their version called Sparrow this year, right? That's even bigger.
Oh my goodness.
But GPT-3, great. It works really well. It's amazing. We just described all the different things.
Yes.
That's nothing in comparison to version 4. And that's coming out any day.
Oh my goodness,
Right?
this is too much. I cannot bear this.
Now, I don't know. Now, I know some members of the team. I know, some inside staff. They don't know what that means, right? But the version 4 is not as big as Google's one, right? And it just goes on. And this is a fight to the death. Someone's not going to survive this. Google, Facebook, someone's not going to survive it, right?
This is huge.
Right? Now, all these things we keep on saying, about entrenched tech companies and they're too big to fail, they're not. And inside track is Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google, is now project managing their AI because it is a direct threat. Over 80% of their business is search. They're really bad at doing nothing but search, right? Of making money from it. And they're terrified, right? Now, ChatGPT has had first move. And so OpenAI, the company behind it, which, by the way, is owned by a non-profit, right? So the history of OpenAI is fascinating.
Indeed.
Right? Is now going to accelerate even faster because Microsoft is pitching to get 49% of the shares and put a massive investment. They've got first move. When 4 comes out, I don't know what that means, right? When Sparrow comes out, when Palm comes out, there's all these things coming out, but this is the year of AI. Now, the people and the small organizations can do this faster than anyone else who take advantage are going to do really well. And we've got working with Software Cornwall, we've got an introduction to all this for 4 days, over 4 weeks in March. So my website, hi9.io, or if you go to Software Cornwall, you see more details and you can then learn more about this. But I'm passionate to talk to people who understand this, who understand and get it in a different domain in areas like the Southwest. And for them, because you're now like that ambassador who understands it and gets it and goes, right, where else can this work and where else can this be helped? Please reach out. I'm on my Twitter handles and all the links will be there.
I'll make sure they're all around the video.
I am a real evangelist for this, to talk to as many people as possible. But don't worry, it won't crush you if you take advantage of it now. If you ignore it, you're going to be very different by the end of 2023.
Indeed, left behind. Great advice. Graham, anything, closing thoughts?
No, I mean, I'm just very interested in the whole thing because I'm very much a believer that things are suppressed from the top.
Indeed. Me too. Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, it's suppressed. Yeah. And I also think that you hear it so many times, some of these big companies, they buy out something that actually looks small. And you think, why are they paying billions for that? And that's to protect themselves. Yeah. Well, I'm just interested. I'm passionate in helping people, and I'm helping, sort of, especially in the Southwest. Our clients are, through the Southwest anyway. But I just want them to have the chance to, like we said, match against these big corporates because a lot of the time they make decisions for the wrong reasons, for their bonuses, etc.
Indeed.
Small businesses, owners, they do it for their passion in the Southwest. They're passionate about what they do, and they give so much, and they don't get the proper reward. I think with this, they can get the proper reward. So I think everybody should be looking at this and understanding.
Embrace it.
And I'm passionate about this very quickly.
Yeah.
Is everyone thinks the revolution's always come from San Francisco? The revolution's going to come. I'm 6 miles from Land's End, all the way from the bottom up. That's the true revolution, and this is what this is going to do. And I genuinely 100% believe that. And no longer are we going to have this top down. It's going to change government. It's going to change the state. It's going to change big corporations. It's going to change everything.
There's so many more questions I want to ask, but we can't do it. We need to wrap it up. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you both. Thank you so much for your time today. Graham, we're going to get you to the train station.
Yes,
Woe, thanks for coming up from the deepest depths of Penzance, a beautiful part of the Cornwall. Well, connect with these gentlemen. I'll make sure they're both tagged in my LinkedIn status. Follow me on YouTube on my Shane Solomon Meets YouTube channel to watch any of the other wonderful people that I meet. And if you know anyone doing something interesting in Cornwall or around the world, please drop me an email, shane@cornwallchannel.co.uk. Embrace the AI. It's here. Use it to your benefit. My thanks, as always, to Mike Spinks for producing this podcast today. But for myself and these wonderful gentlemen, we'll see you soon. Cheers.